before she became one of the most celebrated magizoologists of her age. A girl her school called Loony, born to a family mocked for 1,000 years. Believers in creatures no one could find, keepers of a sign no one understood, until their oldest tale came true.
The quibble of
In this episode, we follow the story of the Lovegoods
Our little moon.
and of Luna.
Luna.
What's he doing?
I'm not sure.
Quentin?
Greetings, my dear wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs. As you can see, I've taken some precautionary measures for today's episode. These extraordinary spectre specks are said to reveal the presence of raxperts, invisible creatures that float through your ears and gently make your brain go rather fuzzy. A rare item, apparently, once given away for free with an issue of The Quibbler in 1996, now found in a second-hand stall in Diagon Alley. I still haven't figured out whether I've been scammed or not. But today we speak of a family often dismissed as eccentric, misunderstood, or simply labeled as absurd by those who refuse to look closer. The Lovegoods. And at the center of it all, our dear Luna, a girl who saw the world not as it was expected to be, but as it might secretly be. A trait I, as a Ravenclaw, am certain I possess myself. So tell me, my dear adventurers, are you ready to see the world a little differently? Lights, music, magic. If you enjoy our journeys through the wizarding world and wish to support this project, there is something very simple you can do. Leave a like and subscribe to the Spellbook Chronicles. For you, it costs nothing. For us, it truly makes all the difference. Dumbledore never had to worry about the algorithm. Thank you from the bottom of our wizarding hearts.
Of creatures, fables, and stubborn faith.
Search the great chronicles of Wizarding Britain, the rolls of the Sacred 28, the registers of the Wizengamot, the ledgers of Gringotts, and you will barely find the name Lovegood at all. They kept well clear of politics and seemed to have no particular interest in amassing wealth. And perhaps for that very reason, for most of their history, the great families didn't despise the Lovegoods. They simply never noticed them. But the quiet ones are easy to underestimate. And the Lovegoods had spent centuries being right about things nobody else could see. They kept a different kind of record. As far back as the Middle Ages, they were wandering wizards, naturalists before the word existed, roaming the moors and forests of Britain with ink-stained fingers, writing down what no one else would. Creatures no one had ever confirmed, and improbable events the Crown had filed away as rumor and folklore.
What's this?
Every respectable library in the land laughed their bestiaries and treatises off the shelves. And every so often, a creature the Lovegoods had described 100 years earlier would be solemnly discovered, named, and entered into the official registers by well-established magizoologists. Take the curious case of Parsifal Lovegood, who in the days when wizards had long hunted the demiguise for its silvery, invisible pelt, insisted on something no respectable trapper would accept. That the gentle creature was so hard to catch, not merely because it turned invisible, but because it could see the future, that it knew you were coming before you did. He was laughed at as a fool who had spent too long in the woods. He was, of course, entirely right. Any magizoologist today will tell you a cornered demiguise sees precisely what its hunter means to do, which is exactly what a Lovegood had been saying all along. For most of their history, they had no grand seat, no ancestral manor, only the open road, moving from place to place, chasing their creatures and scribbling their pamphlets, smiling through the laughter of cleverer folk. Above all, they were believers, and of everything they believed, one thing came first. Every wizarding child knows the tale of the three brothers, Beadle the Bard's old fable of death, and the three gifts he gave: an unbeatable wand, a stone to raise the dead, and a cloak to hide from any eye alive. To the world, it was a bedtime story. To the Lovegoods, it was history. They were questers, Believers who held that the Deathly Hallows were real and findable, and who wore a sign to know one another. A line, inside a circle, inside a triangle.
Inside a circle.
Who first drew that sign,
Inside
no one can say.
a triangle.
But some claim it was a Lovegood hand, and that the very first place it was ever carved was the grave of Ignotus Peverell himself.
Of ink, love, and death.
We know little about the Lovegoods who came before, and less still about the man who raised Luna. But Xenophilius Lovegood was born, most likely in the middle years of the century, into that same wandering, disbelieved line. And he inherited all of it, the bestiaries, the sign, and the family gift for believing what no one else would.
I want to believe.
He went to Hogwarts, where the Sorting Hat did the only sensible thing, and put him in Ravenclaw. And it was there, so the story goes, that he met the person who would change his life. Her name was Pandora.
Dora,
If Xenophilius was a dreamer who believed
have you
everything,
figured it out yet?
Pandora was a rigorous, brilliant mind who tested everything. Somehow, the two of them fit.
Still figuring it out.
They were two different kinds of seeker, and they fell completely in love.
Lovely.
Together they made their home near the village of Ottery St. Catchpole, in the green hills of Devon, a few fields over from a tall, crooked house belonging to a large, red-haired family called the Weasleys.
The borough.
And the home the Lovegoods built was, of course, unlike any other. A tall, black tower in the shape of a rook, the castle of the chessboard, standing alone on its hill.
What a lovely place.
After 1,000 years of wandering, the family had finally put down roots. And even then, they did it on their own terms, apart from everyone else.
It's time.
It was there that Xenophilius did what no Lovegood had quite dared before. He took the family's centuries of scribbled notebooks and impossible theories and turned them into a magazine. He called it The Quibbler, and it printed exactly what no serious paper would touch: impossible beasts, secret conspiracies, and every so often a story that turned out to be completely true. He paid his writers nothing, cheerfully certain that seeing your name in print was reward enough. And at his throat he wore the sign of the Hallows, as his family had for centuries. Pandora, meanwhile, was the tower's true genius. She was an inventor of spells, always experimenting, always pushing past the edge of known magic to see what lay beyond. What exactly she was working on, no one can say for certain, and it isn't clear whether the tale that survives is truth or just another rumor invented to make an already peculiar family seem stranger still. But some say Pandora was chasing the oldest Lovegood dream of all: spells to make the invisible visible, to give shape to magic no one had ever seen. If so, then she died at the very edge her family had spent 1,000 years trying to reach. On the 13th of February, 1981,
Xenophilius?
in the last dark winter of the First War, with the wizarding world hiding behind locked doors, their only child was born.
Our little moon.
They named her Luna,
Luna.
the Latin word for the moon, and she was, from the very start, unmistakably her parents' daughter. A small, pale, silver-eyed girl who painted on the walls, roamed the hills after her father's creatures, and took the strangeness of the world completely in stride. She had her father's boundless belief and something of her mother's fearless curiosity, and the two of them adored her. By every account, her childhood was a happy one. Then, when she was 9, everything ended. One ordinary morning, in the room where her mother worked, one of Pandora's experiments went wrong. There was no warning, and there was no undoing it. Pandora Lovegood, the extraordinary witch who had spent her life reaching past the edge of the known, was gone in an instant, and her daughter stood close enough to see it happen.
Mom.
Luna carried 2 things out of that room. The first was grief, the kind that settles deep and never fully leaves. The second she wouldn't discover until later, when she stood before the school carriages that every student is told pull themselves,
You're not going mad.
and saw the great skeletal winged horses waiting in the harnesses.
I can see them too.
Thestrals can only be seen by those who have watched someone die.
People who've seen death.
Luna, born to a family famous for seeing what others couldn't,
hungry.
now truly did.
Help us, pudding.
So it was just the two of them in the rook-shaped tower, a scruffy, heartbroken father and his silver-eyed daughter, printing the Quibbler and hunting Snorkacks over the summer holidays. And if Xenophilius chased the Hallows harder than ever in those years, who could blame him? One of the three was a stone that was said to bring back the dead.
Can bring back the dead.
Then, in the summer of 1992, a letter in emerald green ink arrived at the tower. Hogwarts was calling, and the wizarding world was about to meet Luna Lovegood.
Of Corks, Thestrals, and unlikely friends.
Oh, my valiant adventurers, I bring you news that shines brighter than any Loomis. 3 enchanted tiers: Curious Wanderer, Enchanted Explorer, and Master Adventurer. The room of requirement? Nothing but a broom cupboard in comparison. With us, you'll gain early access to every episode, a secret Discord server to keep you ahead of everyone else, and that's not all. Priority replies to your comments, a direct channel to help you choose new content together, and even exclusive wallpapers taken from each episode. And it doesn't stop there. For the bravest among you, extra videos with my director's notes and reflections on the episodes already released. Because, let's be honest, you can never get enough of your dashing wizard adventure, Quentin Pentabern. Click join below for all the details. Joining the Spellbook family is a small gesture that supports our journey and allows us to bring content truly worthy of our audience. So thank you sincerely from the bottom of our hearts for being here. And you muggles listening in, I beg you tell me, what on Merlin's beard is a Discord server supposed to be?
She arrived at Hogwarts in September 1992, and the Sorting Hat sent her exactly where a Lovegood belonged. Ravenclaw, the house of the clever and the curious. To her classmates, she was a curiosity of a different kind. A dreamy girl with straggly hair down to her waist and huge silver eyes, who wore radishes for earrings and a necklace of butterbeer corks, kept her wand tucked behind her ear, and read her father's magazine upside down. She spoke quite seriously of creatures no one else could see. Rackspurts, invisible things that floated into your ears and made your brain go fuzzy. And Nargles, mischievous little thieves she was sure lived in the mistletoe. To everyone around her, it was all utter nonsense. Proof that Luna Lovegood, as they took to calling her, was several bludgers short of a full set. They stole her shoes and hid her books, and every year she would simply put up little notices around the common room, politely asking whoever had taken her things to please return them.
They'll come back.
And here is the thing the other children never quite understood.
Eventually.
None of it touched her. Luna wasn't lonely, and she wasn't wounded. She watched the people who mocked her with mild, friendly interest, as though they were a moderately entertaining show,
Funny.
and went on being exactly herself. She had inherited, in full, the family's 1,000-year immunity to ridicule. She simply did not need anyone else to agree with her to know what she had seen. Her one real friend in those early years was Ginny Weasley, a Gryffindor a year above the pranks, from the crooked house across the fields. And then, on the 1st of September 1995, Ginny brought others into her compartment on the Hogwarts Express. Neville Longbottom and a black-haired boy with a scar. Luna looked up from her magazine and studied Harry Potter with open, unhurried curiosity, the way she studied everything. Because Harry that year was the most talked-about boy in Britain, and not in a good way. He had watched Lord Voldemort return the summer before, seen him murder a fellow student before his eyes, and the Ministry of Magic, terrified of what it would mean, had decided the simplest solution was to call him a liar. All year, the Daily Prophet painted him as a disturbed boy crying for attention, and nearly the whole school went along with it. Luna did not. She told him so in her usual way, plainly and without a flicker of doubt, that he who must not be named was back, that Harry had faced him, and then went back to her pudding. That was the year the students took their defense into their own hands. Forbidden by the Ministry from learning real magic, a group of them met in secret, And Harry taught them how to fight.
We can produce
An illegal little army they named.
Patronus check.
Cheekily, Dumbledore's army.
Dumbledore's arm.
Luna joined, and it changed something in her. And though the others had spent years thinking her a joke, it was Luna, at just 14, who cast one of the hardest spells Harry taught.
Expecto Patronum.
A full, living Patronus. A silver hair that bounded about the room. A piece of magic grown witches and wizards often never manage at all.
Brilliant.
Luna Lovegood, it turned out, was a formidable witch, but it wasn't the magic that mattered most to her. Years later, she would still call those meetings the first real friendship she had ever known. And she would paint their 5 faces across her bedroom ceiling, bound together by a single word: friends, written out 1,000 times in golden ink. And when the ministry tried to bury Harry's account of that night in the graveyard, it was her father's magazine that set it free. The Quibbler, the laughingstock of wizarding Britain, ran Harry's full story, the interview no respectable paper would print. It sold out overnight and was reprinted again and again. When the school banned it, that only made everyone read it faster. The Lovegood habit of printing what no one else would had for once changed the course of the war. Then, in June, it turned deadly. Harry had a vision of his godfather in terrible danger. Sirius Black, a man once branded the most dangerous fugitive in Britain, a supposed servant of the Dark Lord, and in truth, the last family Harry had left was, Harry was certain, being tortured deep inside the Ministry of Magic. 6 students went with him to save him, flying across England on the backs of Thestrals only some of them could see. Luna was one of the 6. She fought grown Death Eaters in the Department of Mysteries, held her ground, and walked out on her own 2 feet when others were carried. Sirius did not. He fell that night, killed before Harry's eyes. And it was Luna, of all people, who understood. After the battle, Harry hid from everyone he knew, until he found her in a corridor, calmly hunting for the belongings her classmates had stolen this time.
Oh, it's all good.
They talked about the dead, about Sirius, and about her mother.
Sorry that you had.
In the Department of Mysteries, both of them had stood near a strange veiled archway, and both had heard faint voices murmuring behind it.
The dead.
The voices, Luna was certain, of the dead, waiting just out of sight. To her, it was the simplest thing in the world. The people we lose are not truly gone,
And anyway,
only somewhere we cannot yet follow,
it's not as though I'll never see Mum again, is it?
she said, quite cheerfully. And Sirius, she meant, was no further away than that. Harry had been offered careful, useless comfort by the wisest wizards alive. It was Luna Lovegood, in her butterbeer cork necklace, who gave him the only words that ever actually helped.
Of Cellars, betrayal, and a father's love.
My dear adventurers, today I bring you something that will interest you. 2 actually, and completely free, which I must say is rather rare even in the wizarding world. As you know, the Spellbook Chronicles is devoted to the exploration of wizarding knowledge in all its forms. And knowledge, as any respectable wizard will tell you, lives in books and tomes. Which is why I can wholeheartedly recommend a completely free month of Kindle Unlimited, a Muggle service that grants access to an extraordinary collection of titles. I am a parchment man personally, but I must admit this Muggle technology is remarkable, which means no books that bite or perforate your ears. Frankly, a considerable advantage. And while we're on the subject of Muggle conveniences, a free month of Amazon Prime. Fast deliveries, films, series, useful, I'm told, for those of you without access to Owl Post. You'll find both links in the description. 1 month completely free for both services. Using them costs you nothing extra and supports this channel directly. It is, my dear adventurers, the simplest way to keep this journey going. And for that, I truly thank you.
When the war came, it came for the Lovegoods precisely because of who they were. For Luna, it began at a wedding. Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour's in the summer of 1997. Her father came in robes the color of an egg yolk, with the old sign of the Hallows at his throat, and one of the guests took violent exception to it. Victor Krum, the famous Bulgarian Quidditch champion, knew that triangular symbol as the mark of Gellert Grindelwald, the darkest wizard the world had known before Voldemort, who had carved it into a wall at Durmstrang and murdered his way across Europe. Crumb's own grandfather among the dead. He would have dueled Xenophilius on the spot, but he was only late to the truth. For Grindelwald had stolen the symbol, the way such men take whatever they please, from the believers who had worn it for centuries. The quarrel was an omen. That very night, a silver lynx came streaking into the reception, the patronus of Kingsley Shacklebolt, with a single message.
The ministry has fallen. The minister is dead. They are coming.
The guests scattered into the night, and the war swallowed everything. Luna returned for her 6th year to a Hogwarts now run by Death Eaters, and refused to keep her head down.
Let's move.
With Ginny and Neville, she brought Dumbledore's army back to life, defying the Carrows, the 2 Death Eaters Voldemort had set to rule the school by fear.
Obey.
And while the Daily Prophet printed the regime's lies, one magazine kept telling the truth. The Ministry had branded Harry undesirable #1,
Potter.
the most wanted man in the country,
Undesirable.
a price on his head.
#1.
And issue after issue,
Potter.
Xenophilius put that hunted face on the cover of the Quibbler and called him the best hope they had left.
Best hope we have.
Everyone wondered how long the little paper would be allowed to live. The answer arrived at Christmas. The Death Eaters did not come for Xenophilius. They came for the thing he loved most. On the Hogwarts Express, as the students traveled home for the holidays, they took Luna. They held her for months in the cellar of Malfoy Manor, in the dark, with the old wand maker Ollivander for company, and they snapped her wand in 2. And here is what mattered about Luna Lovegood. In the blackest place imaginable, at the heart of the enemy's own house, she did not break. She kept the old man company when his courage failed,
It's okay.
counted the days by scratching the wall, and held herself together where grown witches and wizards could not. The strange girl who saw what others couldn't had always found the world a little less frightening than everyone else did. Now it saved her. Above ground, her father was breaking in her place. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione came to his door that spring, asking about the sign of the Hallows, Xenophilius faced the cruelest choice of his life. He told them everything, the whole faith of his fathers, the tale of the 3 brothers, told more beautifully than anyone alive could tell it, and then, with the same breath, tried to hand them to the Death Eaters. It is the darkest and most human moment in the whole Lovegood story. The greatest believer of his age giving up the truest thing he knew for the only thing he loved more, his daughter. The trap failed. A blast from an erumpent horn tore half the tower apart, and the 3 of them escaped. And Hermione, understanding at once why the old man had done it, made certain the fleeing Death Eaters saw Harry's face, so that neither Xenophilius nor Luna would answer for it. It was the kindest thing anyone ever did for him. They took him to Azkaban all the same. Deliverance found her in the unlikeliest form of all. One night, a crack split the darkness of the cellar, and a house elf in a woolly hat appeared among the prisoners. Dobby. He carried Luna and the others to safety at a cottage by the sea, then went back for more, and came out of it dying, a knife in his chest. They buried him by hand in the garden above the water, and it was Luna who knelt beside him, closed his eyes, and thanked him for being so brave. Ollivander repaid her the only way a wand maker could. With his own hands, he made her a new wand. And when the call to battle finally sounded, Luna went back to Hogwarts. And there, the Lovegood way of seeing changed the course of the war. Harry was hunting a fragment of Voldemort's shattered soul hidden in the castle. Something that had belonged to Rowena Ravenclaw, and no one could find it, because no one living had laid eyes on it in 1,000 years. But Luna was a Ravenclaw, of a family who had treasured the old forgotten stories for generations. And no founder was closer to a Lovegood's heart than Rowena, the seeker of lost and hidden knowledge. Luna knew the tale of the diadem, and she knew who to ask. Not a living soul, but the Grey Lady, the mournful ghost of Ravenclaw Tower, who had been in life Rowena's own daughter, and had guarded the secret for 10 centuries because no one had ever thought to ask her. The girl mocked for chasing invisible things led Harry to the most important invisible thing of all. Luna fought through the battle that followed, beside Ginny and Hermione, against Bellatrix Lestrange herself, and she stood in the Great Hall among the living when Voldemort fell at last. And somewhere in the chaos of that morning, a man newly freed from Azkaban came shoving through the crowd, searching every face until he found the one he had betrayed the world to save.
My child.
The Lovegoods, both of them, had come through the war their strangeness had dragged them into.
Of Snorkacks, twins, and wonder.
The war ended, and the girl they'd called Looney walked out of it a hero. One of the 6 who fought at the Ministry. One of the leaders of the school's resistance. The one whose counsel had proved vital to recovering Ravenclaw's lost diadem. But heroism was never what Luna was after, and she didn't linger in it. She finished school, packed a bag, and set out to find the creatures no one else believed in. It was the family trade, of course. But Luna took it further than any Lovegood before her. She became a magizoologist, a wizarding naturalist, and traveled the wild corners of the world, discovering and naming magical creatures no witch or wizard had ever recorded. The girl, raised on beasts nobody could find, spent her life finding beasts nobody knew existed. And somewhere out there, she made her peace with the other half of what she'd inherited. For years, in the far north of Sweden, she hunted the crumple-horned Snorkack, the elusive creature her father had chased all his life and sworn he'd seen. She never found one. And in the end, gently and without a trace of bitterness, she came to accept what everyone else had always told her, that this particular creature had probably never existed at all, and that her father, for once, had simply been wrong.
It doesn't matter.
It didn't shake her faith in the slightest. The Lovegood way had never really been about Snorkacks. It was about refusing to stop looking.
Hello there.
And the looking led her to someone just like her. Rolf Scamander, a fellow naturalist and grandson of the legendary Newt Scamander, author of
Yes.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I know who you
They did not meet at school, but years later, 2 grown wanderers who had spent their lives chasing the same impossible creatures, and who, of all the people in the world, understood each other completely. Luna and Rolf married and had twin sons, Lorcan and Lysander, and the world's regard, which she had never once asked for, found her anyway. When Harry and Ginny Potter named their only daughter, they called her Lily Luna, for Harry's mother, and for the strange girl on the train, who had once told him he was just as sane as she was. And so, the House of Lovegood, overlooked for 1,000 years, laughed at for centuries more, came at last to this. A place in the history of the war, a family carried on in 2 bright boys, and a name that wizarding children now say with respect. They had never been wrong about the things that mattered. They had only ever been early. One mystery, though, is still open, and it's the oldest one of all. The diadem Luna helped to find had been lost for 1,000 years, and the woman who made it, the founder whose house shaped every Lovegood who ever lived, is a story of brilliance and heartbreak that few people really know. Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure. So reads the inscription on that lost crown. To understand what those words cost the witch who wrote them, and to see in her the first spark of everything the Lovegoods would ever become, we have to go back to the very beginning, to the mountains of Scotland 1,000 years ago, and one of the 4 greatest wizards the world has ever known. This is the story of Rowena Ravenclaw.
Of Ravenclaw, Hogs, and tragedy.
It was in the veiled lands of ancient Caledonia, on the border between the Highlands and the Saxon lands, that, on a night forged by storm, a child destined to shape the history of the wizarding world let out her first cry. Her name was Rowena, of the House of Ravenclaw. It did not take long for her mother to recognize in the child's eyes the mark that had distinguished the Ravenclaw line for centuries.
Rowena,
The inner eye.
focus.
To many, a gift.
Our inner eye
To few, a curse.
is a gift.
Rowena was a seer, one gifted with the sight, a rare connection to magic itself, through which images would come to her. At times, as vivid as reality, at others as hazy as the wildest of dreams. They were fragments of the time to come. Young Rowena, tormented by ceaseless visions, most of them cryptic and devoid of any clear logic, even though she was surrounded by witches and wizards of her kind, could not help but feel different from the rest. Alone. None but her mother could truly grasp the whirlwind of emotions Rowena was forced to bear. It was for this reason that the woman did not hesitate to subject her daughter to a strict and demanding education, one designed not only to help her control and channel the magic of her inner eye, but also to shape her into a skilled and capable witch, an essential requirement for survival in those dark and perilous times. And yet, though her mother, a seer herself, seemed the only one who truly understood her, no matter how much Rowena proved her talent or how hard she tried, it never seemed enough in her mother's eyes. Never a kind word, never a gentle touch. The young witch could not help but wonder, was she even capable of love? But the more young Rowena grew, honing her abilities day by day, the clearer and more coherent her visions became. Among them, one image began to appear in her dreams with increasing frequency, disturbing her sleep with a growing sense of unease. A spray of pale white flowers, the screams of a woman, and finally, blood. Something terrible was about to happen. Rowena knew it. Rowena felt it, deep within her bones. It was a day like any other, and her mother, just as she often did, was to join the other witches and wizards of the village at the smoldering remains of yet another Muggle battlefield. Their task was to tend to the few survivors, a gesture of compassion perhaps, but also the echo of an ancient and long-forgotten pact, forged in the days when wizards and the non-magical still walked side by side before blood and fear tore them apart forever. For the first time that day, her mother asked Rowena to join them.
You'll come with us.
Perhaps at last, she believed her to be ready.
It is time.
But things took an unexpected turn. Upon reaching the site of the massacre, amidst the anguished screams and the incoherent mutterings of the wounded, something caught Rowena's eye. A detail seemingly insignificant and yet essential. A field of soapwort surrounded the blood-stained earth. Could her vision be coming to pass? Had it been trying to warn her of her mother's death? Rowena should have stopped it. She should have altered the course of events. What purpose did visions of the future serve if the future could not be changed? The young witch begged her mother to leave at once, to return to the village, but she refused, ordering Rowena to stay in her place, and even raising her wand, ready to use it if necessary.
You leave me no choice.
It was then, at the height of their heated argument, that Rowena revealed the full extent of her power. With an Expelliarmus of exceptional force, far too exceptional, she disarmed her mother. The emotional surge behind the spell was so strong that it hurled the woman backwards, and she fell, tumbling down the edge of a cliff. Despite her desperation and the swiftness with which she rushed to her mother's side, fate had already cast its dice. It was too late. Yet with the last of her strength, with her final breaths, the woman passed on her most important lesson.
Be strong, Rowena. Cold, detached, logical, but fair. Only then will you be able to control your curse and turn it into a gift. The future is not shown to us so that it may be changed, but so that it may be accepted. As pain, too, must be accepted.
From that day on, Rowena never returned to the village. She knew the time had come to leave, to make amends for her mistakes, to make peace with the past, and to accept both the present moment and the future to come. In doing so, she would honor her mother's final words, words that would stay with her until the very last day of her life.
Thank you, Mother.
The young witch then set off to travel across the British Isles, seeking to expand her magical abilities, and most of all, in search of mentors who could complete her training as a seer. It was during these years of pilgrimage that Rowena met the one who would become her dearest and most trusted friend.
My lady.
A quick tongue, a genuine smile,
You must be hungry.
eyes brimming with the desire to do good.
Helga.
Helga of House Hufflepuff's magical abilities, bolstered by her boundless warmth, touched Rowena's heart in a way that hadn't happened for as long as she could remember.
Brilliant.
Helga's kindness was like sunlight after a long winter. It didn't take long for the two to become inseparable, bound by a perfect balance. Helga, already a skilled healer even in those early days, could see beyond Rowena's sharp, cynical intellect. She made her laugh, softening the chill that lived within her. To Helga, magic was, above all else, a means of healing, not of control. The two witches, both ambitious, both driven by the desire to better themselves for the good of the wizarding world, and both still hopeful in the face of the widespread bitterness toward Muggles during those dark times, decided to journey together, to protect one another, to learn from each other, and to achieve their goals, together, as friends and sisters. It was said to be during these very years that Rowena came into possession of a long-forgotten heirloom, a diadem of unparalleled beauty, its sapphire gleaming with an otherworldly brilliance. The enchantress chose to make it her emblem, imbuing it with her values, and through the purity of the sapphire, enchanting it, so that it might enhance the wisdom and intellect of whoever wore it. Just as Helga held dear the enchanted cup passed down through her family, Rowena now had an artifact of her own, the object that would one day be known to all as the Ravenclaw's diadem. The two prodigious witches, whose fame had quickly spread across the Isle, did not yet know that their travels would soon end for something far greater. South of York, they crossed paths with a wizard whose skill with a sword matched his command of magic, Godric Gryffindor. Alone, he was fending off a group of dark magic-wielding bandits, tormenting local villagers, his bravery bordering on madness. Rowena, however, saw another path. With sharp wit, her gift of foresight, and a voice like steel, she ended the clash without casting a single spell.
I have seen it. Two of you will fall before sunset. One shall be strangled in his sleep by his own brother. Another, marked by my gaze, will speak no more. To those who spill innocent blood today, death shall not be denied, but something far worse, oblivion. No one will ever speak your name again. So turn back now, surrender, or vanish into oblivion.
A true prophecy, or a well-crafted bluff. Neither Helga nor Godric ever knew whether Rowena had truly foreseen the future that day. But what mattered was that it had worked.
That was incredible.
That very night, around the fire,
Indeed.
the three spoke of their visions for the wizarding world.
I wish
Each of them wished to protect it,
we could do more.
to strengthen it, though in vastly different ways. Godric, though initially wary of the witch, found himself drawn to her clarity of thought. Rowena, though critical of his impulsiveness, was struck by his unwavering moral strength. It was Helga who mediated between the two, as she so often would in the years to come. And so, the now united trio set off for Lundenburg, one of the largest centers of the Anglo-Saxon realm, where they hoped to find other witches and wizards just as eager as they were to make a difference. It was in this context that Godric struck up a friendship with a prodigious parcel-mouth wizard, likely of Irish origin, who had only just returned from years of travel and perilous adventures, eager to offer his gifts to the magical community. His name was Salazar Slytherin, and he would be the first to truly champion the seed of an idea that had begun to take root in Rowena's brilliant mind, a school of magic, a beacon to guide the young witches and wizards of the British Isles so that they might be properly taught, and, in turn, become forces for good within the wizarding world.
Beyond the mist of the Scottish Highlands, a warty boar stared at her with glistening eyes. Rowena couldn't look away. It was an invitation to follow, through trees, over mountains, to the jagged rocks of a cliff, before a vast lake of crystal clear water.
Rowena awoke with a start in the dead of night. The vision had been vivid, clearer than any she'd had in a long time. That was the place. It was there that the school was meant to rise. There that it would rise Hogwarts, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And so, Helga Hufflepuff, Godric Gryffindor, and Salazar Slytherin followed the inner eye of their seer companion. And the moment they arrived at the chosen place, its significance became clear to all. A primordial land, steeped in the purest and most powerful of forces, ancient magic. Such a wellspring of energy was the perfect foundation upon which to build their school. Together, the four of them joined their powers and began to shape brick by brick what would come to be remembered as one of the greatest schools of magic the world has ever known. Rowena infused into the very walls of the castle her vision of a living, shifting stronghold, one that would grow and change with time, forever adapting, forever challenging the minds within. A place of riddles and revelations, crafted to awaken brilliance in those who sought it. She dreamed of a home for the keenest minds, nestled high in the tallest towers, where the air was clear and the stars close enough to touch. It was the year 993 AD, and the epic of Hogwarts was finally beginning. But with it came significant responsibilities. Among them, how would they select which students were worthy of attending Hogwarts? Each of the four founders had a very clear and distinct idea on the matter. For this reason, they agreed that every young witch or wizard with magical ability should be welcomed to the school. However, each student would be placed under the primary guidance and tutelage of one of the four founders, who would select them based on their unique qualities and inclinations. For Rowena, it goes without saying, the selection of her students would be guided by the words that would later be remembered as her personal motto.
Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure.
At the school, the years passed swiftly. Despite occasional disagreements among the founders, the students grew in skill and wisdom. Everything was unfolding just as the four had long hoped. A little more than a decade after Hogwarts was founded, a new student arrived under Rowena's tutelage, a girl upon whose future many hopes were placed. Helena Ravenclaw, her daughter.
Helena.
No one truly knows what happened, nor how. No one knows who the girl's father was, the lost love of Rowena. Across the centuries, many theories have surfaced, fragmented and speculative. Yet among them, one name returns time and again. Vortigern, a Muggle warlord of Britannia, whose story is woven into Muggle legend. According to the ancient text Historia Brittonum, Vortigern once loved a pagan woman, so the Muggles believed, by the name of Rowena. Whatever her origins, life at Hogwarts was never easy for Helena. Her mother was demanding, unyielding, severe. From her, excellence was not a hope, it was an expectation. Magical prowess and intellect beyond measure were simply assumed. No one saw her for who she truly was. She was Rowena Ravenclaw's daughter, heir to one of the four founders, child of the most brilliant witch of her age, perhaps of all ages. How could Helena ever be herself, ever grow into her own gifts when she lived beneath such an overwhelming shadow? No one seemed to want to be near her. No one, except for a noble-born Slytherin boy who, despite everything, would have done anything to make her smile. But Helena never saw him. She felt alone, misunderstood. Despite appearances, it was Rowena, more than anyone, who truly understood her daughter.
Helena.
What Helena was going through, she had lived it herself, many years before. I do this for her, she told herself, to make her stronger, to make her wiser than I ever was. But Rowena's ways, however well-intended, only pushed Helena further and further away, until their bond grew cold, delicate, and distant as a thread stretched too thin. Until, just a few years after the girl completed her studies at Hogwarts, that thread finally snapped, for good. Upon waking, Rowena could not believe it. Her composure faltered, her usual poise lost its grace. Someone had stolen her precious diadem. Sadly, asking who the culprit was seemed as foolish as it was unnecessary. The real question was, why? Why, Helena? In despair, Rowena found herself unable to see a way forward, perhaps for the first time since she had been a frightened young girl, cowering beneath her mother's stern gaze.
Rowena.
And then, a vision, long buried, nearly forgotten after more than 30 years, resurfaced, weaving its way through dreams and nightmares alike. A sea of white blooms, a woman's scream, and blood. Why now? Why did the guilt over her mother's death come knocking once more?
Rowena.
For reasons beyond understanding,
My friend.
her body and her magic began to wither, weakening with each passing day.
Who caused this?
And so, she fell ill. The witch, who chose to keep the theft of the diadem a secret, both to preserve the delicate balance within the school, and more importantly, to protect her daughter, knew she no longer had the strength to embark on a journey of such magnitude. So, she made a decision to entrust the task to a young man Helena's age, a former student of Salazar's, who during his years at Hogwarts had seemed utterly enamored with her. He came from noble blood, and as far as Rowena knew, had recently inherited the title of Baron.
For Helena, anything.
He told her, vowing to bring her daughter back, wherever she might be.
I stole the diadem. I sought to make myself cleverer, more important than my mother. I ran away with it. My mother, they say, never admitted that the diadem was gone, but pretended that she had it still. She concealed her loss, my dreadful betrayal, even from the other founders of Hogwarts. Then my mother fell ill, fatally ill. In spite of my perfidy, she was desperate to see me one more time. She sent a man who had long loved me, though I spurned his advances, to find me. She knew that he would not rest until he had done so.
From what we know, the Baron traveled far and wide, chasing every last trace of the girl who seemed to have vanished without a single clue. Eventually, a handful of signs led him to the mountains of Arbanon, the ancient principality known today as Albania. Deep within the heart of a forest, Helena had taken refuge, consumed by grief and regret.
I was angry.
She had acted out of anger, jealousy, and the crushing weight of never having lived up to her mother's expectations. After soft words of comfort, the Baron stepped forward, declaring his love for the young Ravenclaw and begging her to return home with him.
Come with me.
But for Helena, it was far too late.
I cannot.
She could never go back,
It's too late.
least of all with him, for she knew who he truly was beneath that veil of honeyed nobility. A cruel, sadistic, and violent wizard. Rowena awoke in the dead of night, her forehead damp with sweat. A windswept field of white soapwort, like snow upon the earth, the screams of a woman, and the blood. At last, she understood, but it was too late. The woman in her vision had never been her mother. It had always been Helena. The man, after stabbing the girl to death, took his own life, unable to bear the weight of what he had done. And from that day on, he would forever be known as the Bloody Baron. Only then did Rowena Ravenclaw, holding in her hands a letter filled with tender words and admiration for the daughter who would never read them, finally understand. Her mistake, just like her mother before her, had been to value the magic of the mind over that of the heart.
Forgive me.
And perhaps it was that very realization that caused the heart of the great witch to quietly fade, one day, into silence. And so, this story comes to an end. But the legacy of Rowena Ravenclaw, her deeds, as well as her mistakes and regrets, lives on to this very day, more vividly than ever. Just like the tale of her treasured diadem, lost and buried beneath the weight of blood and tragedy in a shadowed forest of Albania. Until, nearly 1,000 years later, someone would find it once more. But that, as we know, is another story.
And so, my dear wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs, the story of the Lovegood family reminds us that life is not always epic or full of extraordinary adventures. Sometimes it is simply strange and wonderfully bizarre. Also, it should be noted that spectre specs remain scientifically unverified, socially questionable, and extremely difficult to take seriously in public. And yet, perhaps, that is precisely the point. I bid you farewell, my dear adventurers. I am, as always, your charming wizard Quentin Pendragon, ever ready to guide you once more through the wonders, legends, and mysteries of the wizarding world. Until the next bizarre and extraordinary adventure.